Welcome everyone to another Goblins versus Gnomes card reveal and review, the final countdown. Alright, so December the 8th, GVG coming out. You're getting free packs, a couple of them, and you're getting a free arena run. So that's awesome. They also dumped all the cards, and like I predicted, once they give us all those cards, you're probably going to get it within, a week. And I was right. So, without being too smug, let's go over the last set of these cards. They're going to be all neutral. Yes, I know, didn't cover all the class ones, but I already did that with Noxious on his channel, so if you'd like to see that, go over to his channel, check him out. We covered all 9 classes. We covered a lot of the legendary ones that were shown previous, so it's a good time. Alright, so without further ado, Arcade Nullifier X21, 4 mana, 2/5, taunt. You might think this is a crappy Senjin, but wait a minute, it has Fairy Dragon ability and is a mech. So because it's a mech, you can get it out cheaper, you can boost it up. It'll synergize in a lot of different decks. It's going to be really annoying for people to deal with, so I like it. I really do. Short of the Black Knight, you're always going to have to tempo trade into this thing just to get rid of it. I mean, you can silence it with, an Iron Beak Owl. That is an option, but you're still talking about 2 card, and really, that just kind of sucks. But I think this guy is going to definitely be popping up as a great anti aggro tool. And it's just going to be a real annoyance tool against control, so I like it a lot. Next up is the Flying Machine. 3 mana for a 1/4 with Wind Fury. Okay, again, it's a mech, and there's things that boost up mechs, so having Wind Fury already attached to it is kind of cool. There's a lot of things you can do with that. However, it's kind of craptacular on its own. Somebody might, and I do say might, come up with something that's cool for this, but at that point, wouldn't you just much rather run a Raging Organ? I don't know. I like it, but I don't think we're going to see too many deck designs with this initially. Maybe later on, who knows. In Arena, this card kind of feels crappy. So, gonna move on here. Force Tank Max. 8 mana for a 7/7. Hey look, it's a neutral 8 mana minion. That isn't, a giant. So, 7/7, so you're talking War Golem stats, which you get that for 1 mana cheaper, but you're getting a Divine Shield. How impactful is that? Not very, because Big Game Hunter's still going to exist and knock the living crap out of this. But you could get this guy out cheaper due to Mech Warpers, and also boost it up. And that's kind of in the realm of Magic Fairy Christmas Land. I don't think we're ever going to see this guy really played all that much outside of Arena. An Arena, again, War Golem is better because it's 1 mana cheaper. And is that Divine Shield really going to matter that much? It could. But all in all, it's just a big body minion. And I like big body minions, I do. I just don't think this is all that practical. Yeah, the mech interaction is cool, but I don't think we're going to see much play with this. Not initially. Somebody may figure something out, so keep that in mind. Alright, Goblins Stalker, 2 mana for a 2/3 with stealth. Seems really familiar for some reason. Anyway. So, I like it. It's definitely a really nice stealth option. It always gives you something to do some trades with, and yeah, I like it for that. But at the same time, would I play this over, let's say, Shade of Redax Ramus? No. But would I play this in an aggro deck, or something where I'm going to be doing early game tempo up to, like, mid-game and then go for a burst finish? Maybe, because it'll be difficult for them to deal with initially. They can't just throw a Frostbolt at it. But remember, there are spells like Flame Cannon that exist, so your stealth is not as impactful as it used to be. Alright. Next up, the Hobgoblin. This is probably one of the best cards I have seen come out yet. Whenever you play a 1-attack minion, give it a +2/+2. So here's what this does. Your Argent Squire just became a 3/3. Yes, turn 4, you play a 2/3 and a 3/3 with Divine Shield. It's actually kind of cool. There are many other examples that you could do with this. In Mage, hey, guess what? Mana Worm comes down on the board as a 3/5. Alright, that's kind of cool. It's literally taking those low drop minions and giving them value later on in the curve. Like Undertaker. Undertaker's great in the opening. But later on, unless you're going to like lay out your entire hand to boost it up, it's kind of loses its value. Now, however, it actually gains some of it back, and that's kind of really important. Also, little side note, Explosive Sheep now becomes a 3/3. So, yeah, I definitely like it. I definitely like it. Alright, next up is the Junk Bot. Whenever a friendly mech dies, gain +2/+2. So this is kind of like a flesh-eating ghoul sort of thing, but it's so much more expensive, and its initial start stat sucks. And it's only for friendly mechs. So it does gain more than the ghoul does, but I don't know. I can think of way better 5-drops than this. This is kind of cool in like a tempo-based deck where you're trading somewhat, but again, there are better cards in that 5-drop that'll fit in there. So I'm not overly happy about this card. So it kind of sucks. Okay, Kizan Mystic, 4 mana for 4/3. Battlecry, take control of a random enemy secret. Now the funny thing about this is actually very similar to a card that me and Mr. Noxious designed. But we made that a legendary because its ability was so strong. We thought it was too strong to allow it to be anything but a legendary. Blizzard, on the other hand, thought differently. So you take control of their secret. So it's like Cabal Shadow Priest for secrets. And it's a rare, which means you could run 2. So what does this mean? Well, now hunters have something to really counterplay them a little bit, and so do mages. Does this mean this is the end of secrets? Probably not, because in all honesty, you're pretty much only going to want to tech one of these. Because there's really only 2 viable secret classes. Yes, you could say Paladin, and there is an argument to be made with Paladin secrets and Gaslow. I'll give you that. But at the same time, I still see it as more as one-off tech. And even if you don't face off against a hunter or a mage, it's still 4/3 body. That's not horribly bad. It's Spellbreaker's stats. No, in all honesty, I think I'd rather have a Spellbreaker any given day. But this actually offers some really interesting possibilities. Being able to take an Ice Block from a mage, being able to take a Freezing Trap from a hunter, an Explosive Trap, or whatever. It opens up possibilities. And you know what? That's the one thing this game needed, was more possibilities. Alright. Mechanical Yeti. 4 mana. 4/5. And it's a mech. And it has a death rattle. This is so much better than a freaking regular Yeti. I can't even... It boggles my mind. Because of Mech Warper, pretty much any class can ramp this guy out. And those spare parts are really going to do great. I mean, they are 1 mana. And let's not forget, 1 mana spells, which is technically what a spare part is, can power Gaslow. Yeah. Alright. So, but yeah, this is definitely so much better than a Chillwind Yeti. And this is like an example of what power creep is. To be perfectly honest, this is power creep. Alright, Ship's Cannon. 2 mana, a 2/3. Whenever you summon a pirate, deal 2 damage to a random enemy. Okay, so overlooking the fact that pirates are probably one of the least played tribe archetypes in Hearthstone altogether, now you have something that is RNG of what it actually hits. And yeah, this card is kind of craptacular. Yeah, sure, it's a 2/3 for 2. But I have to run pirates. And not all the pirates are very good. So I don't really care for this all that much. In Arena, it's just a 2/3 body, because the likelihood you're going to pull pirates in Arena, especially with all the new cards being dumped, has been lessened significantly. So, yeah. But it does kind of, you know, make people think that I can make a pirate deck. And it is possible. You could make a pirate deck. This could go right in there with it. So, don't discount it for that. But this is more of a fun card versus a competitive or laddering card. So, yeah. Alright, the Mini Mage. 4 mana for 4/1. It comes with stealth and spell damage. Now, this again is another card concept that, you know, me and Nox touched on before we even knew GVG was when it was coming or any of the cards for it. We already created this, so it was like, oh wow, we were pretty spot on. Yeah, this offers some really interesting options to be able to have something to where you always have a spell power on demand. The downside to it is AoE exists, and there's a lot more kind of ping mechanic or like an arcane missile effects coming into the game with random distribution of damage. So because of that, his value actually shrinks. But it is nice to see that both me and Nox were thinking on the same lines with in design. Alright, the Salty Dog. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Raynad has come to Hearthstone. No, I mean, alright, so 5 mana, 7/4. It's a pirate. Yeah, this kind of makes my previous statement about the cannon seem really crappy, doesn't it? Yeah, no. Okay, 5 mana for a 7/4. At that point, I think I'd much rather play a Venture Mercenary. It's going to survive more and probably be a little bit more impactful. Not to mention the fact that Big Game Hunters still exist. Priest can knock the living crap out of us. And 4 life is so easy to deal with. It really is. Alright, you play this against the Mage. Mage Flame Cannons you. God, do you feel like crap. So, yeah. But the art is beautiful. I love the art. Alright, the Fell Reaver. These guys were really nasty and disgusting during Burning Crusade. So let's read this. 5 mana. Wow, that's pretty damn cheap. It's an 8/8. Holy crap. It's a mech. Whenever your opponent plays a card, discard the top 3 of your deck. See, the only way I can see this as viable is if you're running like Gazlo and piloted Shredder and, or no, the Shredder and the piloted Golem thing. Those I could see kind of viable with this, because rather than having to depend on what's your deck, you're depending on outside your design implementation. But losing the top 3 cards of your deck really sucks. I mean, I could play this in a Priest, you know, but it's never coming down unless I got Silence in my hand. You know, because that is just so horrible. You're playing against aggro, they see this guy come down, here's what they're going to do. They're going to lay down their entire hand, basically burn your entire deck and put you into fatigue. That is horrible. That is horrible. Nobody wants that. So unless you can silence this guy instantly when he comes out, this is kind of like a craptacular dead card. Even in Arena, I wouldn't touch this with a 10-foot pole. Alright. Next up is the Stone Splinter Trog. 2 mana for a 2/3. Again, River Croc stats. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, gain +1 attack. Now, a lot of people thought that, oh my god, this is going to be a great aggro tool. No, it's not. What this actually is the same way Taunt kind of slows down board states and prevents them from getting out of hand, is kind of what this guy does to direct damage builds, okay? So if you're playing up against the mage, is he still going to cast that Frostbolt? Yeah, he still is. But other classes, like let's say Hunter or Priest, they're less inclined to play stuff like Power Word Shield because you're making it bigger in the process. Is it impactful? Marginally. Is it better than a River Croc? Yeah, I could say it is. But it's still easy to kill. It's only affecting its attack. So, there is that. Alright. Hemet Nessingwary. Pardon me for a second. Alright. Hemet Nessingwary. 5 mana. 6/3. Alright. I guess because he's a gnome. Or not a gnome, he's a dwarf, that's right. Alright, so Battle Cry. Destroy a beast. This has got to be the most niche fucking legendary I have ever seen. It's good against 1.5 classes. And I say half because Druid only has like a few beasts now. So it's pretty much, this is directed at fuck you Gazrilla. Yeah, so I can kill a beast. How important is that? Beasts are generally some of the most craptacular minions in the game, with the exception of King of Beasts, Gazrilla, the Highmane, and you can make arguments for Mukla and the Beast. But am I going to tech this? It depends. If Hunter, as we've seen in previous iterations of the meta, becomes so popular, and they're running a very heavy beast build, would I run this? Yeah. Would I feel good about it? No. Because it's a tech card. It really is a tech card. Now, what I foresee with this card is that this is kind of like a sleeper card. Yeah, we're putting it out now, but its effect is not going to be really all that great. But later on, we might be introducing more beasts to the game, so then his value goes up. But right now, it's just garbage right now. Alright. Speaking of legendaries, Trogzor, the Earthinator. 7 mana for a 6/6. Whenever your opponent casts a spell, summon a burly Rockjaw Trog. I like this guy, okay? I do. 6/6 is really kind of interesting. The 7 mana kind of sucks, but let's remember, control decks wouldn't mind putting this out there. Ramp decks wouldn't mind putting this out there. And the reason why I say that is it's going to be difficult to deal with, like in straight up trades. It'll always trade 2 for 1, and they're never going to be able to use spells against it because they kill this with a spell. They're still allowing you to get another minion out there, and this could backfire on them very, very easily. So it's another one of these cards like, you can do this, but I'm not going to I don't think you really want to do this. You know, we're seeing a lot of this interactions dealing with spells of your opponents, and I kind of like that. I really do. Interestingly enough, you play, if this comes down and your opponent decides he's going to flame cannon it just to weaken it so he can trade into it, what ends up happening is the spell procs his trigger, and the flame cannon, because it's RNG, could actually go to the trigger. The triggered summon minion. So that would be hilarious. That would be hilarious. Alright. Puddle Stomper, because we needed more Murlocs. I've been demanding more Murlocs in this game, and we've gotten 2 of them, and something that allows you to get 4 random Murlocs into your hand. Okay. So let's read the stats. 2 mana for 3/2. So it's the Raptor. but it's a Murloc. Okay. And we all know the Murloc synergy, so I don't really feel I need to go into that in any depth. This is actually probably one of the only Murlocs, other than Coldlight Oracle, you'd be really willing to take in Arena. Because 2 mana for 3/2, yeah. Alright, moving on to the next card. The Ogre Brute. 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. This is pretty much standard with every single Ogre. It's got a 4/4 body for 3 mana. This is not unheard of. See Dancing Swords. But would I play this over Dancing Swords? Hands down. Because if I'm using this, I'm using it to tempo trade, to control that early game board. Alright? Okay, so it's going to be attacking the wrong enemy 50% of the time. Either way, it's still hitting an enemy, and that's what I want it to do. I don't really care where it goes at that point. I'm just trying to control what you're doing. Mind you, it's haphazard, and could backfire on you greatly. So, but a 4/4 body, 3 mana, it's kind of difficult for a lot of classes to deal with on that curve. Alright, Lost Tall Strider. Okay, so we saw the introduction of a new beast mechanic in Druid. And a lot of people are like, yeah, well, okay, so they're getting like one actual beast. The Druid of the Claw is now going to be Beast. And that's kind of okay, I guess. But then people are like, yeah, but I would never play a Beast Druid deck. That makes no sense. They need something decent in there. Here's your answer. It really is. However, where I think this is really going to see the most play is actually going to be in Hunter. Call Pet makes this guy really nasty. Oh look, he's dirt cheap. What I would do is, if I got this on a Call Pet, I would wait until I got the Tundra Rhino, and then, oh look at that. Combo. But either way, getting this guy out cheaper than 4 mana could be very impactful. So keep that in mind. It's actually giving a little bit more validity to Call Pet. Alright. Gnomes Infantry. 3 mana for a 1/4 charge and taunt. I kind of feel like they put the charge in here just to justify his outrageously overcosted. I'm sorry, 3 mana for a 1/4 is just garbage no matter how you look at it. But wait, he has charge. Okay, the only time this is ever going to be all that viable is to like finish something off, or if you're playing it in conjunction with a bunch of boosting spells or minions. So I don't really see this as a great card. But not all cards are going to be great cards. Remember that. That's like a key logic behind design. Alright, Gazlo. I've talked to a couple interactions already about this guy. So, 6 mana for a 3/6. Whenever you cast a 1 mana spell, add random mech to your hand. Okay, spare parts are considered spell cards, and they are all 1 mana. So think about all the 1 mana interactions in this game. Alright, you look over at Mage, they've got a buttload of 1 mana spells. You look over at Priest. Priest has a lot too, especially with that new healing spell. That's pretty cool. It means you're going to be pulling more minions into the thing. You'll always have something to play. Now it's a 3/6. Alright, that means it can be killed with Shadow Word Pain. It can be silenced too. And at that point, you know, it's a killer hedge without the taunt. So I definitely like it. I see some great combo synergies, like in late game plays, that is going to make this really, really fun. Alright. Target Dummy. Yeah, we all kind of saw this initially when they showed us the trailer, but we didn't know what it was called, but we all knew it was called the Target Dummy. We really did. 0 mana for a 0/2 taunt. This is arguably, like, if you take the Shield Bearer and then just move it to the next mana, like lessening it or to the left, this is what you would get. Alright? It's really kind of interesting. The fact that it's a mech means a lot of cool stuff. This means Myrmidon's head can come down turn 5, coin conceal. But that's Magical Fairy Christmas Land, because you still need to get this and another mech down at the same time, or 2 of these down and Myrmidon's head for that scenario to work out. But again, there are a lot of interactions with mechs in this game that could actually make this guy offensive and really just kind of a good play. You know, it's like a defensive wisp for all intents and purposes. Now, while wisps aren't all that used, because this is a mech, I think it'll get a lot of use. But I may be wrong, but we'll see. Mogor the Ogre. This card, oh my god. 6 mana for a 7/6. All minions have a 50% chance to attack the wrong enemy. This guy kind of proves that, you know, that little snide comment people would make to others. You know, it's like, wow, I am dumber for just having listened to you. That's pretty much it. This guy comes down, both armies go retarded. They don't know where they're hitting. And the reason for this is basically he gets them drunk. So I kind of like that. It's a 7/6 body, so you're talking Metrico Mercenary for 1 mana more, but it turns everything else on the board, yours and theirs, to like this RNG little nightmare. I see this guy actually seeing some play. Just because if you can screw with how your opponent's going to play, it can really mess them up. But again, Big Game Hunter exists. Shadow Word Death exists. Lots of things exist. So his value is kind of cool, but not overly much. I do like it. I really do. It's a fun card, and it'd be hilarious in Arena. I would play this in Arena. I'd play this in Arena all day long. And it would just be great times. Just great times. I can't wait to see people actually experiment around with ogres and see what happens. I think people are going to avoid them like the plague initially, but eventually they're going to start seeing some value in it. It's like, well, I'm getting this really good thing, and the chance of it screwing up badly is only 50%. But with this guy, it's like, now everybody is screwing up badly 50%. And as we've noticed in Hearthstone, sometimes 50% is like 90%. Or sometimes it's 2%. So we'll see. We will see. It's quite interesting. Alright, so that's the 22 neutral cards. Again, December 8th, it's coming. Start getting your thinking caps on, get creative, start getting some deck designs, and just have at it. You know, we're going to be in a time of instability and flux here when GVG comes out. So that first strong deck is going to set a lot of paces for the meta. There's still going to be people who are going to try to hold on to old designs. They're going to adapt old designs. Those are going to be really strong at first too. But when we start seeing like truly creative designs where they're almost like entirely GVG based, that's when things are really going to start setting up for stabilization in the meta. But we will see. Also, I'd like to point out that 3 cards are getting some pretty dramatic changes to them. First of all, Soulfire is now 1 mana. Yeah, I know Warlocks are not happy about this, but you know what? How many times have you got hit with a Soulfire as it was the last card in his hand, and then he life tapped and Soulfired, and you felt like crap? Yeah, it's happened to us all, so I'm kind of okay with this. I really am. Next up, Flare goes to 2 mana. This has been a nerf like people have been asking for the longest of time, and it seems kind of crappy when you consider there were a couple, like 3 1-drop spells that hunters primarily use. There was Tracking, there was Flare, and on occasion Arcane Shot. This gave it value with Gazlowe. Now they have 2. It's like they deliberately took away any potential of Gazlo being played in Hunter. So that kind of sucks. And the third, and I honestly think this isn't much of a nerf, is the change to the mana cost of the Gadgetzan Auctioneer from 5 to 6. A lot of people are screaming bloody murder about this, but when was the last time you actually played him on curve outside of Rogue? You cannot justify the validity of a neutral card because of how it interacts in one specific class. You must balance the card for all the classes, or none at all. So yeah, cranking him up to 6, considering how rogues were abusing it, yeah, I've got no problem with this. I've got no problem with all. I don't think it's really that big of a change. So they have to wait one extra turn. Yeah, sure, one extra turn could mean the difference between life and death, but I just don't think it's all that impactful. We're still going to see people trying to use it. You know, everybody thought, you know, Leroy would be a dead card once it went to 5. Guess what? Still being used. So, but those are the changes. GVG, oh my god, I can't wait for you to get here. It's going to be a blast. Thank you everybody for watching all these videos. I appreciate it in the comments. It really made my day. Thank you so much for all that. I will be picking up Deck Talk very soon. Probably going to have to take a little bit break after this latest episode due to GVG testing. So this is Shiv saying, if you like these videos, please like, subscribe, tell your friends, Reddit it, whatever. Upvotes are always appreciated. Until next time, good luck.